This is the From Ordinary to Extraordinary podcast with your host, Victoria Caldwell, session number 4. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the From Ordinary to Extraordinary podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome our special guest here. His name is Nadir Al-Mujahid, and he's the founder of Outstanding Muslim Parents Incorporated, the author of Muslims Parenting on Purpose, Volume 1, the creator of the television show Outstanding Parents, filmed in conjunction with Huda TV. And he helps parents increase their influence with their children so they can raise strong Muslim children proud of their Islamic identity. He's an under 40-year-old serial entrepreneur who has a passion for helping people, parents in particular. He was born in the Midwest and is the eldest of 6 children. He's celebrating 20 years of marriage this month and has 4 beautiful daughters and 4 handsome sons, with another one on the way, inshallah. He's worked in network marketing, small business consulting, real estate investing, public speaking, and a hybrid online marketing model now with OutstandingMuslimParents.tv. So that's quite a mouthful as far as your professional experience. So I can definitely see why you said you're a 40-year-old serial entrepreneur. So with all of this experience you have, how and when did you get started in your entrepreneurial journey?
First of all, thank
you know what? First of all, let me say thank you and welcome for being on the show. I'm honored that you've taken the time out of your busy schedule to join us and to share your expertise and your knowledge with us. So welcome again. And with all of this experience you have and all of your major projects, how did you get started and when did you get started in your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, first, listening to all the things you said definitely makes me sound much better than I am. I do appreciate that gracious introduction. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. And of course, peace be upon you and amongst everyone who is listening right now. And in answer to the question, I have wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I was an early teen. I had a great uncle who was an entrepreneur, and he put me to the side one day when I was about 14 or 15 years old because I saw some guys that was coming to his business. He would sell watermelons, and he still actually does it. He's been doing it for almost 40 years. And he put me to the side and he told me that, he said, if I wanted to buy 5 Rolls Royces, I could buy them cash. And it's not about being flamboyant and showing all your wealth, but it's really being smart with it. And he told me that he didn't learn to read or write until he was in his 30s, but he knew how to count money. So, of course, that piqued my interest, to say the least. And I can actually vouch for it because he makes multiple thousands of dollars a day in his different watermelon stands and operations. So that was really the first time I wanted to be an entrepreneur because of time. My parents were always gone at work, working for other people and not really having time for the family, which allowed me to get in trouble as a juvenile and get involved with a number of different unsavory things, if you will. But I really wanted to have freedom over my time. So that's what really sparked it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's a new take. I never thought about how being an entrepreneur, well, of course, I don't have any children, so that would make sense. But being an entrepreneur is good for parenting.
Indeed.
At least when you can work from home. So, okay. So what was your first project and how did you get started there?
Well, my first introduction to the world of business, I guess, would not only be through seeing other people do it, but my first was someone recruited me into a network marketing organization, or also called multi-level marketing, which many people have heard of. This huge company, makes billions, which was Amway. I was introduced to Amway, I think, in 1996.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and of course, you've heard of it as well. And the great thing about it is that it opened up my dream space and it opened up my eyes to an entirely different method of distribution, and where the average individual can go ahead and take a proactive role and become an entrepreneur. And I never necessarily made any money with Amway, maybe $7, but the education is what I really learned and was excited about because I had never known it. And my parents hadn't known it. All they knew was go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and prayerfully that job will take care of you, which is horrible advice today. But maybe a few decades ago, it was good advice during the beginning of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Amway was the first, and then let's get to the point. Well, when do you first start launching? Because you went online, because I know you're doing PPL, and I don't know how many projects you had in between that. Were there
Yeah,
any?
well,
Yeah, let's just do a quick.
can list them actually. So, in answer to your question, we can go on a timeline. And I got involved with Amway through network marketing. Didn't necessarily make any money, but again, the education was priceless. And I began to look at other opportunities. And I came across one called Prepaid Legal, which is now today called Legal Shield. And I got involved in 1999. At that time, I was working as a regular laborer because I wasn't only an entrepreneur. I mean, I worked a regular job. I drove a school bus in the past. I moved appliances for Sears Corporation. I was a metal worker, a sheet metal worker at a factory, at a foundry. And that's when I had come across this new network marketing opportunity in 1999. And I actually did pretty good. I made almost $30,000 on a part-time basis from home, building an organization, recruiting people, and selling legal plans. And I was very, very excited about that opportunity because this was an addition to what I was making for my regular job. And I learned a long time ago that you really have to, you can work full time at your job, but make sure you're working part time on your business.
Yes.
So I was very excited about that. But as time progressed, actually, I did prepaid for like 99 to maybe 2001. I don't know. Well, I do know what caused me to pause, if you will. I had joined a business with some fellow entrepreneurs. We started a media and technology company where I was in sales because I learned how to sell, being a part of the network marketing organization. And we started a local company where we contracted with nonprofits and we trained people how to become computer literate. And at the same time, I also even went as an independent contractor driving a taxi cab, which was my most exciting thing, I guess I would say. But I put my network marketing business on hold, and it was really because of a lack of personal development. But just to proceed, I came back to that company in 2003 with a vengeance and really investing in myself personally and becoming more of a leader. Hit the top of the company a couple years later and really stuck with that till about 2009 when I began to notice the shift in internet marketing and true leverage and automation. So that caught my eye, and I got involved online with Muslim Money Man, where I was coaching business owners and consulting with different small businesses with online and offline marketing. And eventually a need in the marketplace opened up, which is, one of the keys in business. If you can find a huge need in the market and fill that need, then of course you can really create wealth on your own terms, is a philosophy that I had learned along the way. And while doing Muslim Money Man, I began to see people that were working jobs and having issues, and they were my same faith as a Muslim, but they were losing their children. So they began to sacrifice their children while they were chasing wealth, and that's something I never wanted to do. Again, going back to why I initially was interested in entrepreneurship to begin with. Yeah. So after people began to ask me about what we're doing with our children and so on and everything else, and I began to notice there's a huge need for it. So I utilized the same principles I was helping with at Muslim Money Man with, and develop outstanding Muslim parents, where I've been doing that to this day, and I still do small consultations or small business consultations and consulting and so on with specific select clients. But I really focus a lot of my time on really helping parents across the world utilizing the online marketing model today.
Oh, okay. So that's how, because that was going to be my next question, how you transitioned into the parenting business. Because you have your 9th one on the way now, correct?
Yes. The tiebreaker.
The tiebreaker. Do we know what it is, boy or girl?
Yes, it's a son.
It's a son. So okay. Because when I said it's another one on the way, I wasn't sure if it was a boy or girl, but I just, okay, so you should know a little bit about parenting if you...
you should. I guess that's one of the things about working at home. But not that it makes you automatic, but the challenge was I reluctantly moved into this niche. Okay. And what I mean by that is people were asking me again, what are you doing, with your children? They seem to be so well behaved, or they seem to really be into Islam, and they act in a certain manner. You really have this nurturing environment. And one of the things I want to do as I grew and got older and changed my religion was that I wanted to be different. I wanted my life to be different, my family life to be different from the way I was raised in a household that was not really that nurturing. Though we had a big family. I was the oldest of 6 children. My mother and father were married and stuff like that, and until they split when I was 12 years old. Nevertheless, I wanted my family to be different. So I focused and learned a lot through network marketing that taught me personal development, leadership skills, teamwork, strategic planning. And I utilized these things with my family. And the great part is these same principles can work in business or family. And that's what I was doing. And other people noticed it. I didn't notice that they were paying attention, but as they were losing their children, some systems were really not in place. So as more and more people began asking me and I was helping people out and word got out, then I was like, okay, let me utilize some of the principles that I've done with my family and that I'm teaching with online marketing and create some products and really help people and develop some workshops. And it ended up growing into a business.
That's amazing. I mean, you would never think that just and how that transition happened, what you learned from one network marketing to launch two other businesses from that. And to,
Indeed.
keep your family together and keep them in order and everything. So it turned out to be not only lucrative but also beneficial in other areas in your family and keeping your family together. So
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding. It's very, very rewarding
that's the
because it's on your own terms. That's the main thing. That's the thing that I always wanted was more control. I mean, I'd seen my parents go off to work. I saw my grandparents go off to work, and they really worked hard. It's not necessarily about working hard. Some of the hardest working people in the country are some of the lowest paid people in the country. But I
yes.
really wanted to be able to dictate and have control where I'm not sacrificing my family life and somebody having to at least break that cycle of mediocrity, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say was your biggest, I won't say, let's say, what if you had to say, call it a failure? Some call it failure, some call it learning cycles and whatever. So if you had to talk about in all of your experience, what was your hardest or your biggest failure?
Biggest failure. Well, of course, you're right. I mean, failure is more of a verb than a noun. But failure really isn't complete until someone quits. So what I looked at was when I look at this learning experience, if you will, when I look at it, my biggest challenge was not listening to the information that I was being told, not really believing it. For example, I was a strong believer, hey, you know what? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And obviously, if you take those actions, you'll get that result, which is kind of true. But in leadership and in really building a business, the mechanics, meaning, what to do is about 20% of it. But the art is the other 80% of it when it comes to influence and sales and so on. So when I was being told to read this book, listen to this audio, go to this seminar, I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I put in my notes, what book to get, like Think and Grow Rich, for example. That's, a book that took years to write, interviewing the 500 most successful people financially on the planet.
Yes.
Took a couple decades, and he put down the 13 principles that all of these people had in common from all these different backgrounds. Sounds like something you should probably read. Well, I didn't read it for a few years. Though I had short-term success in the network marketing company, I didn't really have that massive success until I invested in myself with this personal development. So I would really consider that a failure, not really listening to those who are giving you sincere advice, because maybe sometimes you think there's a shortcut or you think that you could just imitate actions, but there's a process that goes into
Exactly.
things. So we have to be willing to allow ourselves to go through the process at our time, as opposed to thinking it's going to be some other way.
Yes, I think maybe is it impatience. I need to make money right now and, get a little bit feverish, but it's at the end of the day, you're going to have to go through that process regardless.
Indeed,
So
absolutely.
you might as well, and that was part of the reason for putting on this podcast to, get everybody's experiences and to hear, once you hear something over and over, hopefully it'll click that, okay, if these people made it this way, maybe, just maybe I should listen. But then, you have to go through your own process of self-discovery before you learn. Some people learn the best by suffering or doing it the hard way or just learning on their own. So
Indeed. And it's unfortunate because many people end up quitting and blaming it, instead of accepting responsibility. So that's a very important part. You have to discipline your disappointments. That's one of the
hmm,
very, very important things you have to do as an entrepreneur if you want to be at least successful.
discipline your disappointments. So how could someone discipline? I've never heard that. I like that. I'm gonna have to write that one down. So,
Okay, good stuff. Well, one of the things is understand that it's part of the process. When you look at people that seemingly have success, all we tend to see is the limelight showed on them or where they are now, but many times the struggle is ignored. We
yeah,
could look at Colonel Sanders from KFC and not recognize what drove him to be a successful entrepreneur. I mean, his business
exactly.
was shut down. They built a highway through his stuff, and he's in his mid 60s.
Yeah,
He was trying to peddle his, I think it was 11 or 13 herbs and spices to over 1,000 people sleeping in his car all throughout Kentucky until he finally was able to get a deal. We look at Dr. Seuss. He never got the praise during his life because people thought he was crazy. But now there's an entire spot at Disney World and Disneyland, dedicated to him. So these people's struggles we really don't see, whether it be the Henry Fords, the old guys, or even looking at the drama and stuff that occurred with Zuckerberg and Facebook. We see a lot of the results, but we don't see what gets put into that. Kind of like when a person works on their body, whether it be bodybuilding or just keeping themselves in great shape and having high energy, they really work at this. We don't see that. And I remember hearing a quote a long time ago that said, champions aren't made in the ring. They're simply recognized there. So as an entrepreneur, we have to constantly be in the gym, meaning in life, learning these skills, learning communication, influence, these things to help us become successful, which are mandatory because ultimately what it comes to is sales. And sometimes people don't like the word sales. Traditionally, those are people that like to buy things or be consumers. We all want to be consumers, but sales is what we do. And the better you are at sales, the better you are at helping people, the more successful your business can be, whether it's a nonprofit or whatever it is. Sales must be there. And as an employee, I recognize that. When I was working at the factory, I had piecework, so I had to produce a certain amount of pieces per hour of these called bearings. Now, I was being rented, so I was part of the sales process. I was in the manufacturing part. So if somebody wasn't making sales on one end, I would be one of the first to go. But I was still part of that sales process, and we all are, whether we're being rented out by a company. And many times they say that companies they buy you at wholesale and sell you at retail. It is what it is, but it's all part of that sales process. So understanding that can really give us a lot of leaps and bounds ahead of many others.
Yeah, a lot of people, even with me in my business too, the sales, especially the way sales is traditionally presented or perceived. And the more I got into sales, I just realized that I have the way that I sell, and it's so natural to me. And it's very effective, but it's very natural. I don't have to go out and pitch and for someone. I do consultative selling, so I'm not necessarily pushing or worrying, but it worked very well, especially for the type of personality that I have. And so I recognize that it's still salesmanship at the end of the day. And on top of that, you're helping somebody, and sometimes you're saving them from themselves, you're saving them from, and especially in my business, which is online marketing, you're saving them from a lot of the scams that are out there. So it's a service that you're doing for them, and there is salesmanship in it. And you have to learn that in order to protect, sometimes, to protect and to serve the one. So it can get better if you can shift your perception, but at the end of the day, you have to sell.
Absolutely. That's the lifeblood of any business. And the more you see sales, the more successful you'll be. For example, if you have children, you will know sales. You will see persistence, or if you're married, well, there was a transaction that occurred. Somebody had to convince that other or sell that other person on themselves, So these are all parts of sales that we don't see. One of the best definitions I heard of sales is really the successful transfer of enthusiasm from one person to another. So you're so good at it because you're genuine. You're genuine. You really want to help people. People need to have some help. They want to exchange ideas. They want to get more in life, and you're willing to do that genuinely in a genuine fashion. Of course, it doesn't feel like sales. I don't know why we still even have the perception that sales is like going door to door. I haven't even come across a door to door salesman in ever. Maybe once or twice selling home security systems. But we think of some pushy person. We love to buy, but we hate to be sold. But when we buy something that we really like, we tell everybody about it, but we don't think about it as sales. So the better you are really understanding that concept, the more successful you'll be. Inshallah. God willing.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely something that it took me a while to really latch in on. But again, like you said, it came from having to do it over and over and over and realizing what made people respond to me, because I never tried to sell in the traditional sense. I consulted, I educated, and I gave them all the information they needed to make this decision that I thought was right for them. But again, it was totally based on what I knew and they didn't know was best for them. So it was, and they wanted it. So,
which is the classic definition of selling.
So I was just like, okay, well, this is not so hard as long as I do it this way. And I know one of my clients, he was like, you're a great salesperson because I don't feel like I'm being sold. I said, okay. So I wrote that down and I said, okay. He didn't feel.
Excellent.
And that's pretty much what set the stage for the rest of, and that's just the way I sell, so to speak. So your biggest frustration was having to learn the hard way with somebody else that already told you.
Exactly. Actually, going back to my notes, it was funny because I have lots of journals, and I was taught that after you leave, people are going to remember you, by the pictures that you have, the effect, of course, you had in their life, but then the books that you read and left them, but also the ones that you write. So we could take empty journals and fill them up with our thoughts and notes and so on. So I went back to my journals and got the list that I even put asterisks by on the books that I said I would get, and the audios and the videos and all of this stuff, and actually took the bold step to purchase them. Yep. Purchase them and then read them, actually finish them. And it did. It opened up a whole new world to my thinking, and I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping somebody listening will take your advice as well. So now we got your biggest frustration. What was your biggest achievement thus far?
Biggest achievement? Well, I guess the biggest achievement is achieving a goal that I wanted to achieve when it comes to my children seeing entrepreneurship. They have no idea what it is for me or a parent to be gone 8 hours a day at a job. They don't know what that's like. Because my daughter was very young when I had initially got involved with the network marketing company when I was actually making money, and had even went full time, even though I went too early, which is a whole nother lesson. But they don't know that, and they know that you can make money online. They can actually see the world. So one of my best things is that now they can take a talent that they have, and they can help other people with it. They can empower them with it, and they can do it without the high cost of renting out different studios, getting a whole bunch of VHS tapes and all that type of technology. They don't even know really how to operate that. At least my younger children don't. But they see a different world that's available to them all over the planet, and they help sometimes with shipping out different physical products I have, and they see all these different countries, these international customs labels, and they really see it at work. And I'm glad it does, because that gives them an opportunity into the future to kind of write their own destinies, if you will.
So you have free labor too?
I wouldn't say it's free labor because they do get rewarded for it. It may be cheaper labor. The best part, for them, and they understand, is that they're participating in the process. So yeah, it's not free labor, but they're definitely participating in the process, and I'm helping them when it comes to their websites and different consulting. They get all that stuff for free.
Oh, so they get it. So they're getting something out of the deal too. No, that's excellent. Because for them to be able to experience it and actually, I mean, this is setting a legacy for them. Indeed. And for maybe even their children, and it's important. My brothers have worked with my dad and everything, so of course he paid them. I don't know when he started paying them, because they started working very young. My oldest brother said he started at 6 years old working with my dad. My dad does manual. He does pressure washing, so he put my brothers to work very early. So all of my brothers are very hard workers right now because they knew they didn't want to do that work forever.
Hey, that sounds like my uncle. He had us out there unloading watermelon trucks at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, and then still had to work 12-hour days after that.
Yes. Now that's motivation.
Now I'm a morning person.
So it's so yeah, that's excellent. So what books right now would you said you read some books and you highlighted, what books would you suggest entrepreneurs read right now? Budding entrepreneurs or seasoned entrepreneurs?
I would suggest the classic original Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Not the revised versions, not the new ones because the copyright is gone, but the old one that was written in the 30s.
Yeah,
excellent when it comes to those 13 principles that we all have. And it doesn't only deal with the 13 principles, but it also deals with the 31 fears that we have. So it's a very balanced book. The next I would suggest would be The Charge by Brendon Burchard. One of my favorite authors of the modern times is The Charge. Okay. And then it's called The Charge, 10 Ways to Create the Drive, in your life, or something along those lines. And then there's Motivation Manifesto, also by Brendon Burchard. These are huge, huge books that really shape the way you think and execute. He's a very, very brilliant strategist.
Yes.
So I would suggest, again, those three: Think and Grow Rich, The Charge, and Motivation Manifesto. In no particular order, but at least those three should be on the list, in my belief.
And Motivation Manifesto, I haven't picked up mine. It's a shame yet, but I'm working on it. I've
Well,
this
after about the first 30 or so pages, depending on your personality type, is where it really gets going. I mean, it really gets going about page 40 and 50. I couldn't put it down, and it's, oh my gosh, it's really good. You got to pick it up. You have to, really.
okay.
Seriously, I have my daughter reading it right now. My wife's reading it, so you got to get at it.
I started the process in one of those days, from his website, and actually stopped and totally forgot to go back. And I got an email the other day that said, "Oh my, we just noticed that you didn't finish this process." I'm like, yes, I need to get back in there. So I left it unread, so I can go and finish that and pick that book up.
Excellent.
So that's definitely on my my list to do. So we got those three books. You got the Motivation Manifesto, Brendon Burchard, and The Charge, same author, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, the 1930s, the classic version, which I totally
Yes.
agree. Excellent. And so, any other advice you have for seasoned entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs?
Yes. The old adage of know thyself. Okay? Know
Mm,
thyself. What I mean
yeah.
is, know your personality type. Know your personality type. There's a short online assessment at humanmetrics.com where you can take the Jong, or the better known name Briggs-Myers personality test.
Yeah.
And it is excellent with relationships, relationship building. You'll learn more about yourself, but then as you have other people around you on your team, on the entrepreneurial team, or on your board, and your businesses, or again, your relationships with your children, your spouses, or whatnot, it can really give you a lot of insight to how you operate, what motivates you, what turns you off.
Yeah.
So know thyself. And one of the best ways I think to do that is to take that Briggs-Myers test. And again, they can find that at humanmetrics.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely into all of those self-awareness assessments, and I'm big on those. And also this one, I don't know if you've taken this one. It's a Wealth Dynamics by Roger James Hamilton. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just and it goes into your natural path for creating wealth. So it helps you when you're looking at how you're starting your business and which flow is the flow of least resistance for you. And so everyone can kind of be in there, because we look at entrepreneurs and we see, like you said, that limelight. And a lot of times it's because they're already in flow. They're doing a lot what's natural to them, even though they don't recognize it. And he has it where, because sometimes, you'll get into a flow, you're trying to do something that somebody else does well, but you don't do very well.
Right.
So he goes through, I think it's about 8 different wealth dynamic profiles. And when you can lock into one, you can actually see which path is the least resistance for you. And it's going to be something you've probably already been naturally doing anyway, but you can recognize it and lean into it on purpose. And
That sounds
and
good.
and know when you're out of flow, when you're doing something that it actually helped me a lot, even with my clients, and noticing which clients were not ideal for me, because we were on opposite ends of the spectrum. They build their wealth. I have one client, he builds his wealth one way, and I the exact opposite. And so it comes to play, because when he wants me to do things, he wants me to build my business and in the way that he builds his business, because he thinks everybody should do it that way. Because that's just natural for
Right.
him. I'm like, well, I don't, that's not the way I operate. And it didn't click until I really learned, okay, this is his profile, this is my profile, and this is why we do things differently. It works for him, it doesn't work for me. So,
Right.
but it's really interesting. So I take as many as I can, like you said, to know thyself. So it's excellent.
Absolutely.
So I know you have some things you have going on today. So tell me, what is your current project? Is the Outstanding Muslim Parents? What are you doing with that, and how can we find out more information on that?
Okay, yeah. Well, Outstanding Muslim Parents.tv is where you can really find out information if you want to join the funnel, see some videos that I put together. And basically, again, it's teaching parents. I mean, being Muslim, my particular niche are Muslim parents, though the principles are generally universal, but it teaches parents really how to anchor their children, and have more influence over the children and their behavior and so on. So just utilizing different leadership techniques, different strategy and influence and persuasion, techniques that people and parents especially should know when you want to raise, children that are strong upon their personality, and kind of stay away from a lot of devices that a lot of children go through, especially when it affects their lack of self-esteem. So outstandingmuslimparents.tv is where you can find me, or if you're interested in the book. Of course, it's muslimsparentingonpurpose.com.
Okay, and they can find this information on this book as well as the program, because you mentioned funnel. I don't know if everybody's listening knows what a funnel is, but so but you have a series of videos, or do you, on your site? Is it?
Yes,
I know
I
at
do.
one point you had a series of training videos, and
Yes, if they go to outstandingmuslimparents.tv, they could just send me whatever email they want me to send the videos to, and they could actually see a funnel in place, meaning that they'll be able to see free information that comes out and offer to a different course, and really see online automation at work. So, yeah.
excellent. So we will update this on the website. It's outstandingmuslimparents.tv, and you can get information on the book there too, or is that a separate site?
As part of the email process, yes, you will get information.
Okay, excellent. So we will update this on the site. The site is O2E podcast.com. That's O as in orange, 2, the number 2, E as in elephant, podcast.com, session 4. And there you'll get all of the links we mentioned in this podcast, this episode, and all of the resources that he mentioned for you. Again, thank you so much for being on. I know you have to run, and I appreciate your time, and hope to have you back on later. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Again, I do appreciate it. And prayerfully, people are able to benefit from it. Keep up the good work, what you're doing in empowering entrepreneurs. I look forward to your success and to hearing the success of many of your listeners. Thank you much, Victoria.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye.